This is an antique Stuart crystal slide. So this is something that was made around circa 1700. So we would say early 18th century, right? Late 17th century. Good God, Christina, wake up. So this little piece is really early. It's something that is part of a genre in antique jewelry that is really collectible, very coveted, very desirable. And we would refer to it as mourning jewelry or memento mori jewelry. Memento mori because he has a little skull in the middle. Mourning jewelry because this is something that was handed out often at funerals to remember someone. And this has a whole history. This is the Age of Enlightenment. This is a time period where they're really trying to introduce thoughts of reason and in science and get rid of sentimental slash kind of pagan way of living where you blame God for everything. They were actually trying to break things down and make sense of things. So this belongs to the earlier era. When you get further into the 18th century and then in the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution, all that kind of stuff, we change the way we think. But back then it was very much like, my friend died, I want everybody to remember them. This is something we're going to do. So these little pieces were made and they were slides normally. This one's been sealed if you look at it from the back, but they were worn on a ribbon on your wrist. Nowadays, sometimes you see them done more as a locket at someone's throat, but really you don't wear this thing. You can't get it wet. It's 300 years old, for God's sakes. You know, you baby it a little bit. This is kind of something that's really special, belongs in a museum. There's just not that much stuff that's left over from 1700. It gets melted down, it gets turned into something else, or it gets wet and the entire pattern disappears. So this is on a bed of woven blonde hair, which means that somebody was young, right? Because blonde hair tends to darken and it didn't have any gray in it. And it's the whole thing. It's like one layer of hair and then another layer of woven hair on top. You see the beautiful little skull, and then it has these gold twists that form letters. We call them ciphers. And it actually says E.T., phone home, but this is way before E.T. And it has something called the pie crust edge. So the edge of the piece, I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Is this type of folded over metal technique. So what can I tell you about this time period? Well, this is like the time period way before the United States became a country, because that's 1776. You have Johann Bach, you have Benjamin Franklin being born, you have Immanuel Kant, you have all these people and all these things that are about to happen. They haven't quite happened yet. I was reading, like, even Isaac Newton, Jonathan Swift, like all these names that we think of as very old names, like they hadn't even happened. So look at this piece. It's just a living little piece of history. Again, if you're interested in this stuff, you would call it mourning jewelry, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, which is when you lament the death of a loved one, or memento mori, because it does have the little skull and bones. Oh God, he's upside down. How rude of me. Okay, look at him now. You see him? Isn't he sweet? And that's a faceted cap of rock crystal quartz on top, and just exquisite. Anyway, I feel very lucky to have him.